Um, I have no clue about this one. I'm just taking it from Warren Hardy's presentation last night. Functional home rule didn't pass.
Oh, that's...
So you have to explain that to me.
Basically, functional home rule is if it's the bill for communities to be able to say how they want to impose or where they want to go with certain taxes. And you got to be careful with that. You want to give, I believe the government closest to the people is the best government.
Right.
But at the same time, that legislative body
that
up
can
there
run amok real
is
fast.
not going to give up their power too, so you might get yourself in a bad situation in a hurry. Here's one of the frustrations that hit us. You have we'll say, use Nye County. Nye County, right now you're authorized for your county tax up to 9 cents. You can, that's a cap. Most of them are at 5 and 6 cents. They haven't even gone to the 9 cents, but they come to the state legislature to say, would you give us $16 million to help our road situation? We got all these X amount of roads. Well, you haven't even done your part yet, and it kind of puts the responsibility back on these county commissioners to say, we need to make this decision. You know, even though people will vote against the tax 90% of the time, even if it benefits them.
Yeah.
So, and I understand that, but when you're having challenges within your own communities and your own county, you've got to kind of take a real responsibility there. You know, I support the rurals big time. That's where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
But we live in the rurals for a reason, and so you have to sacrifice sometimes. You can't have the same benefits that the urban places have. You know, you can't have a big time hospital. You can't be so those with some of those challenges, you get the quality of life issue on the one end, but you lose other things. You got to understand that, and people got to learn to govern themselves and pay for what they want. So, but I don't think the state is ready to give functional home rule yet. So,
Okay.
if that's the bill he's talking about. So.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned some actions and activities that the governor had taken towards economic development.
Yes, and that was...
Let's talk a little bit about that and see if that's going to have any impact on Mesquite.
Well, some of those actions have to do with more stimulus money, a certain amount of money to help individuals or companies that might come here that bring jobs. There's going to be certain requirements that they have to meet in order to do it. It's not going to be like the Apple program that they just had in northern Nevada.
Right.
There's deeper consequences and reactions. I think you have to bring, if I remember right, it's like $50 million of your own money to be able to get a certain amount of incentive to abatement on certain things. But you also have to bring certain types of employment with regulations, which it's a lot the same way that most economic development areas come from communities, but it actually is more active with working with the solar projects out there to try to stimulate abatements in those areas. I can't remember all the areas that it covered, but the aviation area was one of those areas that we really believe that we have an advantage at. Mm-hmm. That can bring big economic benefit. What'll happen is what they've discussed is a lot of these things do their testing in the winter in places like Canada where they have really cold weather, and then they want to come to these extreme hot climates where they've got lots of open space and not worried about something dropping on somebody's head. So you know, I sit and listen to that, and I think, man, I wish we had our little airport up on the mesa up there done, because I think it would have provided that opportunity with hangars and everything else, and they'll lease the hangar space for big areas, but they need extra long runways, which is kind of interesting that these UAVs need more runway than big, but I guess it's for safety purposes. So.
Okay. So do you see any of these economic development dollars and actions trickling down to Mesquite? I mean, certainly we're not going to attract some company that's going to have $50 million laying around, but you know, that's not what we're after anyway. We're after the smaller companies.
After the smaller companies, I believe that the Mesquite Business Group, I think, has a great opportunity to go after those smaller groups. Talking to Steve Hill, they've already tried to steer some things this way, which, you know, I've been involved and tried to discuss some of those discussions. Our power rates on one of them, as you may have heard about, is killing us.
Yes, power and lack of natural gas.
Yeah, and it's a real devastating thing to Mesquite. Otherwise, people want to be in this area. They like this area. I like the I-15 corridor. This is easy in on off for them, but with power and natural gas is two issues that somewhere down the line we got to figure out how we're going to
So
deal with that issue.
what do you want to do about those two issues? High power rates and lack of natural gas.
The high
What
power
do you
rates,
want to do?
I don't know what we can do about the high power rates. The natural gas, I think we need to move on it and try to help incentivize somebody to come here and put that tap in and bring that line into Mesquite.
At least for commercial business.
For commercial business, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that'll spread from there. So
Yeah, I mean retrofitting a lot of the residential homes would be cost prohibitive.
it would, but there's still new homes that are going to continue. We have to be optimistic that growth is still going to happen in Mesquite. And if you look at the growth of the Las Vegas Valley over the last 30 years,
Yeah,
we've got a long ways to go, which I hope we never get there, or we can't. But
yeah, we can't. Okay.
nor do we want to.
Yeah, I don't.